As Ecomi and Veve investors, we always want to know where we are heading next, because we need to reassess if our investment is still valid, if we should stay in, and if we can expect the returns that we have assessed and where we believe the price would go. If you are invested in a stock, you have at least once per year the opportunity to ask questions about the heading and get information about where the company is headed that you put your money into at a general assembly, a general meeting, or a general investor meeting. Now with Veve and Ecomi, we have the luxury that we get several AMAs over the year where we can extract a ton of information out. And not every time the answers are point blank formulated into one sentence. But I think in the last AMA there was something very, very important, and that's what I'm going to show you here. Hey guys, it's the Patient Hodler coming at you with this Apac region video. But before we start, please keep in mind that I'm a crypto and NFT investor and not a financial advisor. So please do your own research before you ape into Ecomi and the Veve collectibles. Also, if you like this type of content, please smash up the like, subscribe to my channel, tap the bell to always get notified whenever I upload a video, and most importantly, let me know in the comments below how convinced you are of that investment and what you think about the Apac approach for the coming year. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. Before we dive into the good content, I wanted to get quickly out an apology for not making as many videos as I have planned, and the reason is that I got the sea plague and I'm a little bit down, so please be patient. More and more videos are coming out with good content for you guys once I'm back on track. But let's look into this one here. So in the AMA, after addressing all the part about the bots and the account restrictions, David Yu had to go into the topic of Peely and the stamp drop and what they were planning for the future. And I have written down some citations, and you can also see here the timestamps, so you can go to the AMA and look it up for yourself. And I highly recommend just listen to those 6 to 7 minutes from minute 28 around to minute 36, because it's really, really interesting. So let's look what he says. He says in the beginning that their focus for 2022 is now the Greater Asian Pacific region, the Apac region. Greater Asia, including the China market, is key and vital moving forward. So before we look into the other citations, let's look quickly what Apac Greater Asia Pacific is. This Statista article is from 2019 and outlines the population of the Asia Pacific region that they are referring to. And we have the biggest one obviously with China, and then we also have India. And when we think about India, we are thinking about the project that is coming up with Epico Regal, with Venkatesh, and that is yet to be officially announced by the Ecomi team. But then we also have Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Japan, which is officially being targeted already with the Peely Fantasy drop, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, South Korea, Malaysia, Nepal, and all these numbers that you can see here are in millions. So we have 2 billion countries, and then we have countries with several hundreds of millions, and then also smaller countries like Nepal. Australia is in the Pacific region, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Hong Kong, Laos, Singapore, New Zealand, where David Yu is from and where the others, or most others, are from. So that is a broad region and it's not targetable with one cultural approach. But in terms of numbers and potential users on the app, it bears a gigantic potential, because as you can see here, only with China and India and Indonesia together, you are already around 3 billion people potential. And if you even count in only 1% or 0.5% of all of these countries, you would have insane numbers that the app probably wouldn't be able to withstand at the moment. So with that in mind and how gigantic this region is, and I have outlined it here again, what is all counting into that region, we need to talk about strategy. And I've put the Veve logos here into the United States and into Europe because the biggest user base at the moment is from these two spots. And when we just look at the year 2021, we can identify that the whole strategy was the onboarding of the United States and Canada region and the broader European region as a whole. And that by using the typical stuff that people in Europe and in the US watch in the cinemas, and that is DC and Marvel and Disney and so on. And all the drops around this, they are clearly targeted onto the Western population and the population with this mutual cultural heritage. And I'm not saying that they have addressed every country in Europe independently. That's not the case. There are no specifically German drops. They have specifically announced some French drops, but those haven't yet come to the app. So there is still the work to do to funnel that down into the different countries. And that is exactly my point here. You can address as a company a broader cultural perspective onto a region. For example, like a pagan Christian perspective, if you think in terms of Christmas. So there is Santa. There is all that Christmas stuff and Christmas tree, snow that we are used to relate with Christmas in Europe and also in the US. So that addresses a broader scale of people and everyone here can identify with that. But maybe not in China, maybe not in Africa. So this is, in my opinion, what they were doing with the general Asian region when they brought out the stamps and the Lunar New Year, because Lunar New Year is nothing specific, only Japan, only Taiwan, only China, or only Laos or something like that, but it's actually present in many of those countries, or only for some groups in the specific countries. We know that there are not only Hinduists, but also some Buddhists in India, so there is a background that addresses a lot of people in that area. And then you have a specific drop that funnels down to more specific interests, and that is, for example, the Peely drop that is especially addressing Taiwan, Japan and China. I have made a video about it, and if you haven't seen it, go back to the video where I was talking pre-drop about Peely, because it's really interesting and it is somewhat a tier 1 superhero tale for that specific region. So let's continue looking at what David Yu said in the AMA. So he says here, and just to recap it again, Greater Asia, including the China market, is key and vital moving forward. As investors, we want to hear that because we want them to expand into those 3 billion people potential there. But what caught my eye is that he specifically names China here. And he continues, we currently have a lot of users in China, but proportion-wise they are very small. And I thought that Chinese are not allowed to invest in NFTs and in crypto and stuff like that, but he says we currently have a lot of users in China, but proportion-wise still very small. So for a fact, we have Chinese users from China on the app that are buying collectibles. He says further, my task this year is about the localization with the Chinese audience. And here he gives the explanation how they manage to buy the collectibles. The unfortunate issue in China is that they have to jump through VPN to get their collectibles. So the Chinese people are finding a way around by using VPN onto the collectibles, and that is already an entry barrier that David Yu doesn't want to see anymore. Good thing for us as investors is that on the 13th of January, this came out, and basically China is planning to legalize NFTs and prepare separate laws from cryptocurrencies so that you could actually buy NFTs if there's no cryptocurrency directly involved in the monetary transfer part, meaning that you cannot buy any NFTs with Ethereum or even Omi. But in Veve, it's quite simple. You put in your credit card, you load up on Gems, which is just like a virtual game coin. You buy the NFTs, and then reverse, if you have MTL, you transform back into gems and then cash out those gems. So no crypto involved, and that could actually be the turning point for the Chinese market for the Veve app. And I think it's very, very smart, and that will be the way how they can onboard massively from China. And then he enters into the other part that says, we also have Japanese animation as a major category. This is just the first footstep into it, and he means Peely here, the drop. They are going to focus on tier 1 superheroes, which basically means all the Batman-like, the Marvel-like, but for the Asian region that most of us don't even know of. I didn't know Peely before that drop, and apparently Peely is a big deal in Japan. And he also announced, by the way, that there will be a series of 1 until 4 drops for Peely, if I understood that correctly, to come onto the app. So what does that all mean for us? In my opinion, it is very big news, because it basically means that the whole year 2022 will be in the growth focus on spreading the brand Veve all across the world, and probably there will be still Western brands rolled out at the time, but the focus will be on the Apac region for the whole year, and we see that they are trying to expand into all the countries and have cross-cultural strategies ready to get an even deeper dissemination into the regions and countries they already have, such as, for example, in France right now. There will be the point where in France Citroën will drop on the app, and where the Little Prince will drop on the app, and that is a big deal for the French-speaking countries. And there will be more and more drops that are specific to certain nations, and I'm pretty sure there will be the ones for Germany, the ones specifically for Italy, the ones specifically for Brazil, for Chile, for Argentina. For each and every country there will be cultural heritage that is going to drop on the app. So in terms of investment, we want to hear exactly that. We want that there is more and more coming for the app that is mainly driving the burn rates on the OMI token, and that is what we want to see as investors, that the OMI burn is continuing to increase. But that's already it for this video. Once I'm better, I will start making more videos. I hope I can do the Sunday live stream to answer some questions and get into little news that came along on the side, but I wasn't able to do a video on those, so I will just run down some slides on Sunday and talk with you guys about what has happened in the last days and weeks, interesting things we have seen during that time. So wherever you are on the world, hit the like button, subscribe and comment down below, and have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night and or afternoon, and see you in the next video.